Welcome back to the balance sheet. Thank you everyone for joining us. I'm Billy. This is my co-host Raj, King of Jar on X. And we've got a fun episode for you guys. We're actually going to have two episodes this week to cover both nights of SummerSlam. We are recording right now on Sunday, August 3rd. So night one is in the books. So we will be covering the two women's matches on that card. And then we have a couple things in outside of WWE in the world of wrestling to cover. Mercedes Monet continuing her world tour, and AEW Women's Championship match announced for AEW Forbidden Door. But we got to start with SummerSlam. We had a title change last night. We maybe expected two title changes last night. So let's start with the title change. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, allies of convenience, versus Roxanne and Raquel, the champions coming in, and we have new champions. Raj, what did you think of the match?
Well, as the streets call them, Char-Lexa are your new tag team champions. I actually really enjoyed the match. I thought it was a well-paced women's tag match. They got a good amount of time in almost 14 minutes. I thought the storytelling inside the match was exquisite. Multiple times you thought the Char-Lexa union was going to explode. Very, very great job at the end. Alexa, accidentally gives her that boom right hand. Charlotte played it so well. Alexa had the great facial reaction, like, oh no, what did I just do? And then as they're about to end the match, she has her ready for Sister Abigail. And then the cameraman pans and Charlotte's in the background. And now you think, okay, is Charlotte going to kick her head off because she's mad that she got punched in the face? Alexa looks at her and Charlotte said something and then ran and kicked Raquel. Alexa does Sister Abigail, 1, 2, 3, you got new champs. I thought that was tremendous work because clearly with these two still, you don't know if they're friends.
She said, I can't believe you punched me in the face.
Yeah.
And then kicked the other person, which is perfect for them.
Yeah, she said, I can't believe. And then they recreated the Roman Reigns Bray Wyatt spot.
I love that.
Basically, what that was, the callback. Look, sometimes in wrestling, you strike gold when you don't intend to strike gold. That's just how the business works. There's a lot of examples of things that just catch on that you didn't expect to catch on. I can name 100 examples. I'll name one just because he's in the news this week. John Cena. He's in the back of the bus. They're on a European tour. He's on the cut roster. They are going to cut this guy, John Cena. And he's rapping in the back of the bus just to entertain people. And the person at the front of the bus happens to be the head writer of SmackDown, Stephanie McMahon. Pulls him aside and said, what were you doing back there? Everybody seemed entertained by it. Oh, freestyle rap. It's something we do, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you just do that on TV? Saved his career. He'd have been gone. He saved his career. Yep. And he has one of the 5 best careers ever in the business. So sometimes you get gold out of unintended consequences. They call themselves the allies of convenience. They put them together and they didn't know what it was going to be, because Charlotte was kind of floundering. Alexa really didn't have direction. They put them on TV, see what happens, and they love this team. This team is very over. I saw the post, whatever they call it now, the post-game press conference, the post-game scrum, and these two are very over. The crowd's chanting, friends, 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 hug it out, hug it out. So I'm all in on Char-Lexa. I cannot believe in my life that I am cheering for Charlotte Flair. This is a very new thing for me. I have cheered for her once in my life, which is anytime she fought Ronda Rousey, I cheered for Charlotte. But other than that, I've never really wanted Charlotte to win a match. And for her to be somebody I want to see win and succeed tells you all you need to know about how good this team is working.
Funny enough, the hardest I've ever cheered for Charlotte is two matches, both at Survivor Series, against Ronda. Uh, you know, I viewed Ronda as an outsider. I wanted Charlotte to win that match, but then the other one was against Alexa, where
Survivor
Alexa,
Series?
yeah, where Alexa was on that 2017 run of dominance, and basically the other three horsewomen were bugs on her windshield, and Charlotte was like, nope. And you know, at the time I was very happy to see Charlotte beat her, but I'm very much enjoying the team. Um, you know, when I said that Charlotte could be a hugely over baby face when she comes back, I didn't necessarily mean in the tag scene. I think they could have done it solo, based on the injury she went through, but they didn't tell that story. They didn't even try to tell that story. So we got to give Alexa the credit for the save here, and Charlotte kind of gave her credit for it on the post show last night. Just felt directionless, and I don't know if kayfabe or not, but she said, you know, Alexa kind of said, "Hey, you know, what are you working on? You want to work on something with me?" So I really love the Bray tribute. I almost thought Charlotte was going to jump over and do a spear. I mean, she has a spear, so I
She
thought that
does,
might
yeah.
be the move, but the boot works just the same. Um, Really good match. I thought, you know, there's two ways to do tag team wrestling, especially in women where they're pairing all these different stars together. You can wrestle singularly and kind of work to a hot tag. And it's not just women, it's what Jay and Roman did last night, right? You work towards a hot tag. Um, that works best when the team across you works a cohesive tag team style as a unit. And Roxanne and Raquel have been very impressive. Um, they are working a traditional. If you're a tag team wrestling fan, they are working your type of match. Um, Very similar to the commitment that Sasha and Bailey put into tag team wrestling during the Boston Hug era that they resurrected during the Golden Role Models era. Asuka and Kyrie work a very cohesive style. Shayna Baszler, and Nia Jax got there in their run as well. And it's not to say that some of these other tag teams haven't been good, but it elevates the match when one team is working that style very well. And I really liked Raquel and Roxanne together. Based on how
Yes.
over Liv is going to be when she comes back, I think that the breakup should happen and Raquel and Roxanne should be a tag team unit for a little while. They're very, very good together.
Yeah. I think Raquel and Roxanne are fantastic as a team. And that was the only part of this match that I hated, which is these are two teams I really want to see have the belt, but somebody's gonna have to lose the belt. So
Right.
it sucks because there's something that they did at the end of the match that told me these two are on the same page. So Raquel did the Tahana bomb to Charlotte,
Backed up.
but she rolled her back so Roxanne can do pop rocks. And I thought that was tremendous. And look, we can argue about who we think like the best women's wrestler currently is all time. We can have these conversations. And whether you think it's X or Y, you think it's Mercedes, you think it's Io, you think it's Toyota, the gap is very, very small. I don't think there's a bigger gap that I can think of in wrestling groupings. I don't know who the second best women's tag team of all time is. Okay, let me clarify in North America, because if it was in Japan, then there's many, but I'm talking about in North American women's wrestling. Sasha and Bailey are so far ahead of the second best team. I don't know who the second best team is because they really worked tag team matches like like, the Midnight Express or the Rock and Roll Express or Tully and Arn. Like, they were so good together as a team. I can't think of who the second best women's team in WWE or AEW is. But Raquel and Roxanne, if they got to continue as a team for another year, I think might be number two, because they seem to just get it right away as a group. Like, they have clicked. They work well off of each other. They know how to like hide their tags. They know how to like cheat behind the ref's back. Like, they do great work. But in Charlotte and Alexa, again, they have caught fire with two of the most, well, okay, let me clarify. Alexa is one of the most popular women's wrestlers ever. I don't think I can put Charlotte in that category. I think I could put Charlotte in, she's one of the biggest stars, but I don't know if I could say she's one of the most popular women's wrestlers ever. But this has changed her career arc, because now Charlotte's gonna have fans who may stick with her now, off of this pairing. Because I said something in our chat that you were kind of like not necessarily all bought into, which is, I think this is the first time Charlotte, Charlotte in 2016, when she had all those matches with Sasha Banks, she got cemented as a wrestler. Like, I think that feud put both of them on the map for being like great wrestlers. Sasha was already a great wrestler. I think Charlotte, a lot of people were like this on, but she came into her own in that feud. But I never thought Charlotte got over as a character because of that feud. Like, I never thought she was a great heel where people just boo her, or she could even turn baby. Like, she was like lost, because when she beat Sasha to win that feud, people were just mad at her. And then they didn't do anything with Sasha. So it was like both characters just like flatlined, right? This is the first time it feels like Charlotte is actually beloved, that people like her. And I got to say, Alexa deserves a lot of the credit for this one, because clearly people like Alexa Bliss, and she's bringing Charlotte along for the ride. Now, Charlotte's doing her part too. Do you think that this could set Charlotte up for a singles babyface run?
I do. I think that a path of her getting a title win that's clamored for is possible now. But what I disagreed with what you said, you actually just kind of laid it out for me. And it all depends on the end and where they go with Alexa and Charlotte. I think that, and I've said this forever, WWE harmed both Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair the way they did that feud. If Charlotte would have lost that feud as she should have, her career arc would have been totally different, because the work was so good. And you just said it, everyone was just frustrated and mad, and both characters came out flat. But I think if you would teleport yourself back to August, September, October 2016, she was over as a heel. Very much so. Beloved, no, because she was the heel, but she was over as a heel. That story was not one for the heel to win.
No.
Had the heel win. And that killed them both. And that made her babyface character fall flat because it didn't feel earned. It made subsequent title wins fall flat because it was just like more of the same. It really set them both in the wrong direction for years. Sasha didn't fully recover until 2019 by going heel, fully recovered.
Yeah.
Charlotte had blips of recovery. Yes, you can make the argument she's never been as over. Her alignment was, you could call it 9 years of not being where she needs to be, aligned with the fans, how over she was. I mean, certainly didn't hurt her accolades and involvement in important things, but um, she was kind of like what people say about Roman Reigns, right? Like she had
Mhm.
plenty of fans and all that, but it was never what it was supposed to be, matching up with what was going on. And now, yeah, if they end it right, this has to be Alexa turning on her. This has to be Alexa
Yeah.
breaking her heart. And I'm not talking about in October. I'm talking like February, March. Like has to be Alexa.
It has to be Alexa. They have to have this has to lead to them fighting at Mania, no title, blood
Right.
feud, right? Same thing like Naomi and Jade.
Yep.
So 2016 was an interesting time in wrestling WWE. There was no AEW. The alternatives were New Japan, TNA if you seeked it out, etc. Stardom was just starting 2016. So like for women's wrestling, Charlotte and Sasha Banks were women's wrestling for like a whole year.
Yeah.
Like they like I mean legitimately they were women's wrestling for a whole year because Sasha returned at the Royal Rumble in January. Their feud ended at Roadblock in December. They were legitimately women's wrestling for 1 year on the main stage. And you have a really good perspective on title reigns, which I got to be honest, I never thought of it this way until you brought it up, but I do think about it now, which is how you end your title reign and who you end it to, and in what fashion is part of your story.
Yep.
I think one of the reasons, and I know we don't talk about men's wrestling here, but one of the reasons I think Honky Tonk Man has one of the most memorable title reigns of all time in the history of wrestling is how he lost it.
Yep.
He lost
That
it.
man beat. Yeah.
Yeah. He had the belt for 18 months, beat everybody, and lost it in 45 seconds. And it couldn't have been a better way to lose it for him. Like it's the perfect way to beat that kind of heel champion who squeaks every match out. He's got rolled over. I think the reason that people remember Bayley's title win at Brooklyn so fondly, and it's still a revered match, and it's still seen as the catalyst for the women's wrestling golden age that we have today, is because of how Bayley won and how Sasha lost. It's like the perfect way for Sasha Banks to lose. She beats Charlotte, she beats Becky, she beats Alexa. She's this unstoppable force.
Yep.
She says just before the match, I'm on Raw, you're a loser. And Bayley's like, I'm not going to take it anymore. Beats her. And then they do the hug and so people love that. But in 2016, I mean, they could have, honestly, they could have booked that feud 100 different ways, and I think all 100 would have come out better than what they actually
Yes.
gave. Like, the way I always wanted to book that feud was Sasha wins at Mania. Charlotte goes away. Remember the summer Sasha went away, came back.
Yeah.
Charlotte's the one who goes away. Sasha then defends it against like some heels, like a Paige, whoever. I can't remember what the heel roster looked like back then. Charlotte returns, beats her at SummerSlam. So we still stay on this arc because you've always thought that them flipping the title back and forth wasn't a bad thing. It's just how it ended, right? Because they
Right.
kind of needed it. Okay. Sasha wins at Hell in a Cell, loses in North Carolina to Charlotte, but finally wins at Roadblock to end the feud. Like Sasha wins in the end, but she also got the Mania win. So she got the Mania win, which is like the centerpiece win, and then she got the final win. So she ends up finally getting, and then she loses to Bayley at Mania. I think she would have had a much, it would have been a much better story. But to your point, I think what's hurt Charlotte her whole career is she's seen as the person who's gotten in the way of things people really wanted. People really
Yes.
wanted Sasha Banks and Mania 32 to win. She got in the way. People really wanted Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. She got in the way. People really wanted Asuka to win at Mania. She got in the way. She's always been the person they insert to beat the person that people don't want to see lose at that time, or in matches they don't want to see her. And it has hurt her career. And I think that she is a person who suffered. Like, people always say Charlotte has this great booking. I completely disagree. I think her booking is awful until recently. I think they have never booked her correctly. They have always tried to use the stupid titles to book her, but they've never given her a real character. And
Yeah.
this is why she is not as beloved as the other three women in the Four Horsewomen. Now, I will tell you this. I agree with you. Alexa has to break her heart. I only have one pause, though. Are people going to boo Alexa Bliss?
Yes. So, yes, because what I say is that their acceptance of Charlotte, recognition of genuine friendship offered from Alexa. So, if the story's told right, when Alexa breaks Charlotte's heart, by extension, she's breaking our heart because we rooted for this. And we told Charlotte, trust Alexa. So if they do it right, Alexa will be stabbing us in the back as well as fans, because Charlotte was the begrudging.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to Bayley. I can only imagine how epic that turn would have been with a real set of fans there and not TV screens. But
no, but the thing about
Bayley stabbing Sasha first is the arc we're going for.
Bayley stabbing Sasha first is I always, because Sasha, she's Sasha Banks, right? She's one of the best villains of all time. And Bayley's like, I wanted to get the drop on you because I know you were going to do it to me anyway, right? That was the Bayley story, right? Like, hey,
yeah,
you were a loser, and B, I had to get the drop on you. Okay. As a wrestling fan, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever in your wrestling, watching women's wrestling fandom life liked Alexa Bliss more than Charlotte? Ever?
me?
Yeah, you. Personally, you.
No.
Okay.
No.
Would you say, I feel like we're in court now, would you say you're in the very small minority making that statement?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I know for you,
even I would pick Charlotte because of the ring work.
Like, for you, it's easy to get behind Charlotte if Alexa turns on her because A, it's the story you want, but B, you have always wanted to get behind a Charlotte Flair babyface character with vulnerability who's been torn down, etc. Right? You're that person. And that's good because I'm sure there is a Charlotte fan base that wants that. My only worry about this, and I'm not saying it won't work properly, because I do think Alexa, for a lot of criticism she gets about her work, and by the way, I think she's improved, and I think she worked yesterday very hard. Alexa's really good at telling stories with her face and how she knows how to do this. She's really good. But man, she's loved. And I think back to, again, this is the PTSD now kicking in. 2017, she's the most notorious heel you should have, right? And she completely turned the fans against Sasha Banks and Bayley and Becky.
Yeah. So it's a great conversation. Two things. She has to completely lose any connection to Bray Wyatt if she turns.
Okay.
That's all got to go, because the homages and her being part of his, last couple years. Um, the fans have a soft spot for that. But ask me why I don't like historically why I don't like Alexa Bliss. It's not her ring work. I really like the Great Balls of Fire match. I think SummerSlam 2017 is not a bad match at all. I enjoy that match. I like her match against Charlotte at Survivor Series. She's capable of working. Now I do get mad at the work, like when she won Money in the Bank and kind of hung around outside for that whole match. But my biggest issue with her is I am a traditionalist, and a heel promo is supposed to make the baby face bigger and better and more beloved. That's why I don't like Britt Baker. If you're tearing down the baby faces, the business suffers. And so for this to work, not because of fans like Charlotte already, but for the people like you to be invested, the people who are agnostic and really maybe middle ground, for it to work, Alexa has to have grown when she becomes the mean girl again.
Mm-hmm.
And she has to learn how to put Charlotte over and put the program over while being a mean girl. It's hard. And she did not know how to do that in 2017. She knew how to be a really amazing, incredible schoolyard bully that got the rest of the class to laugh at someone. And that's
Yeah.
not good. It's not good.
Uh,
It's not good for selling a match.
the example is actually right above your head.
Yeah,
That's the example, right?
it
Like,
is.
and I always tell people this, like, I tell people in my life that the reason that the 2015 Sasha Banks character might be my all-time favorite wrestling character. I mean, male or female, like maybe Macho Man in 88, something like that, but 87. But she was my favorite wrestler by far. I thought that 2015 Sasha Banks was as good as 1985 Ric Flair, 1987 Macho Man, 2001 Eddie Guerrero. Like, I thought she was like the all-time pantheon. My 1995 Miami Toyota. Like, she's like all-time. It's like great. Like, she's amazing. She's the only reason I watch wrestling. I just love this woman. Like, she's gorgeous. She's great in the ring. Like, she has every box I want checked. And I wanted to see her get her ass kicked at Brooklyn because
Mm-hmm.
she totally made me hate her going into the Bayley match because of how she talked about Bayley and how she made fun of her and how she put her down. I wanted Bayley to clock her at Brooklyn and win. She was so good as a heel that I was like, I had the legit boss t-shirt. I was a fan. Like, I was like, this is my girl, but you got to lose at Brooklyn. You have to lose because you cannot treat Bayley like that, right? To me, if Alexa's going to pull this off, she has to channel that person because that's the only way. Look, it'll be hard for me, even if she can pull it off, to cheer for Charlotte because I always liked Bayley from the background too. Like, I was like, this is a great worker. And Charlotte, can be a great worker too. Here's the other thing though. Alexa Bliss, the 2017 version of her was never going to work the way you wanted it to work, which is the schoolyard bully finally not getting people to cheer for her, getting beat up in the end. Because let's call it what it is, right? Alexa Bliss was she was like every guy's crush in 2017 too. Like, that was the other thing. Like, the way she came out, the way she dressed, like they were just in love with her.
Yeah, but the promos done right, there's a subtle difference. In NXT, Bayley was a loser because of things outside of her control. She didn't make it to the main roster like everyone else. I'm on Raw, you're small time, all that stuff. When you undermine the ability of a character to wrestle, which Mercedes as Sasha and as Mercedes Monet is very, very good at going, something along the lines of, you may have beat all these people and but I'm special. Like, but it's never like, you suck and you're not worth my time and I'm gonna crush you. Like, If you ever want proof that Mercedes is one of the greatest heel characters in wrestling history, and for any Bliss fits that listen, you will enjoy this if she does it. I promise you. If Alexa can get the crowd all on Charlotte's side and take an ass beating, you will be proud and happy once it happens. And here's my proof. Ask the crew to name their favorite wrestling matches. Ask them. Brooklyn took a beating that was coming her way.
Toni.
Toni. She took a beating. She lost. She lost and she deserved it. Bianca Belair. She lost. And it's all about building up something to your level and then kind of setting that rocket off. And it's rewarding as a fan. I want to see her lose the TBS title to someone that the crowd is going to just melt over. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
that's the point. Willow or Chris or whatever. In
Yeah.
that moment, it should be pandemonium for the crowd when she loses.
I will tell you this.
It's really fun.
If Alexa can pull this off, where she breaks Charlotte's heart the correct way, then proceeds. Like, to me, Alexa at that point would have to completely change everything about her, which is like Alexa would almost have to wrestle in pants. And she can't, like, it's gonna be like, look, I have said this before, and I've actually told Alexa this in person, so this is not like, she has never in my life since I've known of the character Alexa Bliss on TV looked bad to me. Like, she doesn't, like, there are just people who roll out of bed and they look this, like, that's Alexa Bliss, right? So she never, like, she's like just photogenic. But she would have to get to a place where even the men in the crowd that just like her, they're like, we don't even like you anymore. Like, we're like, I guess she can do it. And I know she's capable of it. She's very talented. But I would say if she can pull this off, it elevates her to a completely different tier of character, because then she's done something that's like miraculous, right? Like, she has gotten Charlotte to become a beloved babyface. That's something nobody has really done. And that would take her to a next level of all-time performers.
For sure it would. And getting old is understanding how this business works, and why Ric Flair was so successful, why Macho Man was really the underappreciated linchpin of some of those big WWE runs, why Bret Hart was so important when you tell the story of Stone Cold Steve Austin, why Mercedes and Sasha Banks was so important to the women's revolution. And frankly, like what Becky's doing with Lyra, it is the lifeblood of the business. It is the lifeblood. And it's not like Charlotte Flair is some hotshot rookie that Alexa's trying to put over. They're going to have to tell a long-term story for this to work, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And shame on us. They've been champions for about 12 hours and we're already talking about their demise. I guess we owe them in an episode or two. How would we book the successful part of their run?
Yeah, well, no, I think we have it. I think they need to me, this is the festival of friendship, but from a babyface standpoint, which is they need to have a long run with these titles. A breakup shouldn't even be teased. Like, first off, they haven't even got to the point where they fully trust each other. They're still kind of, they got to get to that point where they now fully are a team. They're on the same page. They're even announced as one of the greatest teams of all time, the greatest team of all time, whatever. They got to do this on commentary. And honestly, to me, it should start at the Royal Rumble. One of them needs to throw the other person out by accident or something. And then though the story should be that Charlotte on camera is the one who's being about her, but it's actually always been Alexa. But Alexa is using Charlotte to kind of get what she wants out of it. And then Alexa breaks her heart. You know, Charlotte almost has to be broken down. Like she almost has to be depressed. And she has to almost come into the ring, sit in a chair, and cut like this promo of, you know, I opened myself up to you. I, you know, was for the first time in my life, I believed in friendship, and I wasn't about me, and you took that from me. And then at WrestleMania, when they have their match, when Charlotte wins, it has to be like the crowd is really into it and they're cheering for her. And Alexa, people, everybody by the time we get to Mania should want Alexa to get her ass kicked. And honestly, Alexa has to go into a dark place to put Charlotte down. Honestly, like Alexa, but see, this is the thing though. How dark do people want Alexa to get? Because Alexa on the microphone is serious business, but how dark do they want her to get? Do they want her like, I don't think we can go into the place of the stuff that Charlotte wrote about in her letter, like how people like it can't
yeah, I think they have to tell enough positive story beats over the next 5-6 months so that the undercutting of the friendship is enough, right? They have to show enough highs. She shouldn't have to go handed to make it work. The betrayal should be enough. And you know, people probably listen to this and think we talk about Sasha, Mercedes too much, Bailey too much, whatever. But the blueprint, pun intended, is when Charlotte beats Alexa, she should be so hurt. It should be like Sasha in Hell in the Cell. That wasn't even fun for me. Like, I won the title. Who cares? That sucked. That should be the vibe. The vibe should be, I'm so hurt. I didn't even enjoy beating you. I actually still care about you. Like, I'm just pissed it came to this. Like, that should be the vibe.
So let me flip it this way. At WrestleMania, should Alexa win the first match?
No.
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 So but Alexa shouldn't.
Depends on how we get there, but no.
So are you saying it should just be Charlotte beats her and that's the feud, or do they continue a feud?
I think if they've been a tag team for 6 or 7 months, I think it's you know, but Sasha Bailey was 2 matches.
Right. Yeah.
After a year and a half.
So it should be Charlotte wins the first match as just the singles, and then the blow off is like a stip match.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Because Alexa, if she's playing, you know, we say it all the time. The heels can. How much did Naomi lose over the last 6 months?
No. I agree. I'm just curious of how, you know, they would tell the story. But yeah, that's.
This is very much an ear to the ground story for WWE, and I think having long-term plans are very good, both AEW and WWE. I think you should know who essentially your next champion should be. I think that's important. That way you tell the right story along the way. But you have a big enough roster and enough TV time that some of the time your ear should be to the ground, and this is an ear to the ground story. You should be open to where the story takes you.
No, I agree. And, you know, it's interesting. You talk about next champion. Well, you know, let's pivot over to the women's world, or the WWE women's world champion, because I want to point this out again. You know, shout out to our good friend Chen, who might or might not be making an appearance in part 2. She was at SummerSlam yesterday. I predicted, you know, if you listen to last week's episode, at first I said Jade, then I changed it to Tiffany, and I had a Tiffany epiphany, as they say. So you have a really good point about Tiffany Stratton's title reign, which I didn't think about it like that, but I'm going to let you say to everybody what it was in our chat. So Tiffany and Jade, let me set the stage here. The WWE Women's World Title was defended at SummerSlam, so we are happy as women's wrestling advocates that both women's titles will be defended on this show. Tiffany and Jade had a 7-minute match. That's where my praise stops.
Yep.
If you're going to book this match or any title match, you got to give them more than 10 minutes. You cannot effectively make it a SmackDown squash or a Raw squash. So, I actually thought this match was getting good, and then it ended. And that's what disappointed me about it, is when I finally got sucked into the match, it ended. And I do think that they're telling us something without telling us something about either Jade, Tiffany, both, because there's no reason that Tiffany Stratton, who had like a 20-minute match with Nia Jax, and Jade Cargill, who every single match up to this point getting here, Naomi, Asuka, Roxanne, was all longer than this. That now these two have a match at SummerSlam on a 6-match show that had 1 hour and 30 minutes of wrestling in 3.5 hours of actual airtime, that they got only 7 minutes. So Tiffany retained, as I correctly predicted. And I'm going to ask you 2 questions. One, I want you to give everybody your opinion about Tiffany's title reign and your opinion on this match. And number 2, who's going to beat Tiffany?
God, where to start? I got more than 7 minutes worth of commentary on this match, even though it was only 7 minutes, that's for sure. Tiffany's title reign, what I said was, if you wrote out on paper who she's beat, just write the names.
Bayley,
Roxanne, Nia. I think she beat Liv in there somewhere, right?
Liv, Nia, Trish Stratus, Charlotte
Jade Cargill.
Jade Cargill.
Yeah. It looks like a world beater title reign. It literally looks on paper, 10 years from now, people might be like, holy crap, Tiffany Stratton's title reign was one of the greatest of all time. I'm sure that will be said on Twitter in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Brother, we just lived through it. It is not one of the greatest title reigns of all time. And what I said was, living it out, it feels mid. And someone who is a Tiffany fan actually tweeted, I don't know why people don't like Tiffany's title reign. Every single match has been at least decent. That's not the bar, ladies and gentlemen. At least decent is not the bar. And it did say something about both Tiffany and Jade that this was a 7-minute match. Before I say what it says, I will say that I disagree and I'm against it. But it is certainly management saying that they don't trust Jade to go a certain length of time with Tiffany, presumably leading the match or whatever, that there's a lack of trust among both of them, because all of Jade's matches against competitive women have been much longer than 7 minutes. Oddly enough, I'm sure Jade and Tiffany wrestled for longer than 7 minutes in their SmackDown match before Naomi interfered. I know it was. I think there was a commercial break in there. So, are we going to find out in a day or two that it was cut for time and that it was supposed to go longer than 7 minutes? Maybe. But of all things to cut time from, A, why always the women? Screw you, Triple H. And B, even with everything that went on in the men's title match, they still ended at what? 9:30, 9:45 Eastern time? Like, it was early. So they had 5 more minutes to give this match. So I don't think it was ever planned to be long, and I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that because these two women have been in a lot of big spots. Both of them won at Mania. And the match was better than Sami Zayn, Karrion Kross, even in only 7 minutes.
That also was 7 minutes, yes.
That was only 7? I think it was 17 is what I saw.
Somebody told me Kross and thing was 7. Is that true?
It was longer than 7. Felt
It
like
should. I don't
700,
know. I
but
don't know if it was longer, but it felt longer because
it felt longer. Holy
that match
crap.
did not. That I felt like that match went on forever.
So I'll get to Jade in a second. I'm kind of at a loss on Jade. You talk about Tiffany's title run on paper. Um, Jade beat a lot of really good women. Cross Sami Zayn was 8 minutes and 10 seconds. The women was 7:05. Jade beat a lot of women to get here. She beat Naomi at WrestleMania. Jade beat Roxanne. Jade beat Asuka. Jade beat Naomi again. This was the perfect moment to put the belt on her if they intend for her to ever be champion. She could have been a 2 or 3 month transitional champion, and I don't think anyone would have blinked. And I don't think many people would have blinked if she was the one to beat Tiffany. Tiffany's had the belt, since the beginning of the year, and the title feels a little bit stale at this point. I think most people would say. Who beats her? I have the answer cooked up and ready for you. You ready? You're gonna love it. Stephanie.
Okay, so
Stephanie in Paris. I don't think Naomi should lose the title. I don't think Naomi should lose tonight, and I don't think she should lose at the end of the month. And I don't know why you'd have Stephanie win a title match if not to why would she sit on that? Why would she sit on that opportunity for so long?
well, yeah, I don't know why Stephanie. I saw they already teased Stephanie Naomi, right? Because they've been teasing it, so
Yeah.
it feels like they're the match in Paris. To me, I agree with you. So for the record, Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn was 8 minutes and 11 seconds.
Yep. Yep.
So it's not that much longer, but it was longer. But I still think Jade and
It was much worse.
Yeah, well, it was much worse. Tiffany and Jade could have used the extra minute. So okay, I am on my own island here. I never thought Jade should have beat Tiffany.
I get
And
that.
everybody else disagrees with me, and that's fine. Other than Tracy, our good friend Tracy, she's a huge Tiffany fan, so she wanted Tiffany to win. So here's my thought. Look, you could say whatever you want about Tiffany, okay? And I don't think her title reign as a Tiffany fan has been other than on paper good, right? It's been great on paper. It looks phenomenal on paper. How she won it, one of the all-time great cash-ins. Beats Bailey, beats Roxanne, beats Liv, beats Charlotte at WrestleMania, beats Nia in. Let's be honest, her Nia matches might be the highlights of this whole title reign. Like the one they had on SmackDown where Nia's nose busted open. That was that was a really good match.
That was a very good match.
Yeah. She's beaten Jade now. So on paper, yeah, she's had a great title reign. But to your point, living through it, it has not been great. It's been very, very uneven at best. And at worst, you can use the word mid, you can use underachieving, mediocre, whatever. The reason I did not want Jade to beat Tiffany is, look, for all of Tiffany's faults, she has shown that she is capable in the right setting to have really, really good wrestling matches. She's done it with Becky. She did it with Bailey. Did it with Roxanne. She did it with Nia. Like, if you put her in the right setting, she can perform.
Yeah. She's very over, too.
Right.
Very over.
And that was my other point. She's very over. And you cannot teach that, as the old Enzo and Cass thing. You can't teach being over. And for me, Jade is not as over as I thought she would be by this point. Like, Jade is just not that over. She won the Naomi feud, but Naomi is certainly more over than she is. She's not going to be more over in a feud with Bianca. And she certainly wasn't more over when she fought Liv. And
So yeah.
So where I'm going with this is, first off, Jade, and I'm not criticizing her because I think she's worked hard, and I think under certain settings she can, like, I went back and I watched her match with Chris Statlander, the last match she had in AEW, and that is her best match of her career.
That is her best match.
Right? So then I think, what is it that Chris did that nobody else in WWE scene can do? And you have a lot of it, which is Chris is a very, she's a very tall woman and she's very built strong. So she can do a lot of different things with Jade that nobody else can do. But Tiffany is very strong. So that's not necessarily all of it. But my point here is that Jade, to me, isn't ready for the title. Because if your logic or anybody's logic is, well, she should beat Tiffany because nobody cares about Tiffany's run and you can just flip the belt, I don't think that's the reason to take. So remember, this is a person in Tiffany who has beaten everybody.
Yeah.
They told you last week he's 14-0 on TV this year. She has defended her title against everybody. Shouldn't she lose to somebody who they think is going to be like the next longer term champion?
Well, it's my own argument, right? I always say, like, if Tiffany's run on paper, if they have her lose a good match to someone really good who goes off on a run, then on paper you'll say she won it in great fashion. She defended it a lot. She defended it a lot against good people, and she lost it great. So yeah, I'm in that way I'm wrong against my own argument. I thought they were going to be more stubborn about their investment in Jade than they were. I thought that they were going to say, we have to pull this trigger at some point, and now is the best time. I will say, Tiffany and Jade, part of the reason it didn't work is they were kind of both, Tiffany's not a heel, Jade's not a heel. Jade could use a heel turn in more ways than one.
Yeah.
One, she's so big and strong. I think her hurting people will play well as a heel. Two, was Nia Jax a good wrestler as a babyface? Does she have anything that stands out to you as a babyface that you remember?
No, I thought she was awful. Is that the one? Are you talking about when she feuded with Alexa Bliss?
Yes.
Yeah, that was awful.
And so I said in the chat, or before we recorded, a couple of Tiffany's moves, which are Jade was too big and her legs hit first. And I know some of that is, she needs to bump better, but hear me out for a second. If Jade gets to just wrestle like a monster, and the undersized women she wrestle from under her, like Nia gets to do in every match, doesn't that make her already a much better TV wrestler?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because she gets to pick them up and throw them around, which she's very good at. Her biggest issue is taking bumps and stringing together spots as a baby face when someone's doing offense to her.
Uh-huh.
And she has to do less of that if she gets to work as a heel. And I think that it's going to help.
The example is on her own roster in Raquel. Look at the difference since Kevin Nash made the comment about Raquel. Look at her work as a monster heel. She has worked tall. She has worked strong. The way Raquel has recently wrestled, I legitimately look at her as a threat to beat Bianca Belair or Rhea or Io. Like, she's a threat because it's like she works as a strong heel, a tall heel. Jade is typecast raw incorrectly. She should not be a babyface. She should be a heel.
Yeah.
Jade is rich. She's beautiful. She has the body that, if I wanted to draw a body, I couldn't draw a body better than she actually has. Like, she is, statuesque in every sense of the word. Like, she has everything you should hate. She's good looking, she's rich, she's built like, that's a heel. That's not a baby face, right? Like, she's a
Right.
heel. And again, my idea, and I said this, is it's very simple. Kiana James should be her representative. It's very simple. Kiana James should have a stable of Jade as the heel world champion. So that's my answer to who should beat Tiffany is actually the same answer that everybody had until last night, which is Jade. But I think it should be the heel Jade. I think Jade needs to turn heel, beat Tiffany in a squash. I think Tiffany should lose in a squash. I don't think Tiffany should lose in like a 15-minute classic with Jade. I think she should just get her ass kicked. And to me, I would go Kiana James has a stable of Jade and Julia, and they're killers. And that's it.
You could literally have Jade attack Tiffany on Friday, and then the Friday after, Kiana James comes out of Nick Aldis's office, and you think she's there doing business for Julia, and then Jade, Tiffany promo, hey, Jade, I beat you fair and square, and then you attack me. Jade comes out, and Jade goes, basically is like, I'll see you in Paris. And she's like, I'm not fighting you in Paris. And then Kiana comes out and said, it's already happening. Like, because one, that would show that Kiana as a manager has some Paul Heyman type sway where she's able to make moves. Yeah, I mean, that's a much better story than Stephanie switching brands.
It's just easy. And Jade needs to play into the things that are like, that's the thing. Jade is legitimately a wealthy woman. Like,
her husband Brandon Phillips, for those of you who don't know, was a very good second baseman, mostly for I think the Mariners and the Reds for a long time. His career earnings are in the hundreds of millions of dollars. For those who don't know, Roman Reigns is the highest paid wrestler in the world. He ain't even cracking $100 million wrestling. It's just not happening. It's not what happens in wrestling. No one makes that much, but okay, I overstated it, but Brandon Phillips
40,
made $102 million in his baseball career. That's a lot of money.
No, right. He made $102 million, but he made money when, the dollar got you more too, right? So
yeah, he made $102 million from 2000 to 2014 or whatever it was. So yeah, I mean, he's had that money for a while, and if he's been smart with it, it's worth more than it is when he got it.
Right. I mean, just to put it in context, right? His last year in the major leagues, he signed for $550,000. That's probably more than everybody in NXT makes, except for Blake Monroe and a couple others. So, like, yeah, Jade has money. She's always never hid from that fact, which she shouldn't. She's very successful. They own their own baseball team. They do other things. My point is, she has the makings of a super heel character. And if the story told correctly, she should be a destroyer. Her and Julia should be a team of killers. Like, with Kiana James as the representative, they should be a team of killers, because both of them are killers. Like, Jade has the physical, and Julia has and so to me, this is how we need to do it. And by the way, we're going to touch on it, but Julia and Zelina Vega, kudos to both of them. They went out there on SmackDown. They had a point to prove. They should have been on the SummerSlam card. And here's the funny thing. If they were on the SummerSlam card, they have won easily the 3 best matches on this show. That match was really, compared to Carrie. I wasn't a big fan of the jelly roll, whatever match that was. I mean, I guess, a lot of people liked it. It wasn't my cup of tea, but Zelina Vega and Julia had a really good match. And Julia won as she should, but I loved the ending of that match where Julia put her foot on Zelina's neck and stood up with the title with Kiana James. And the best part of what the Kiana James dynamic is, she has not interfered in a match. And she shouldn't interfere in a match. She
No.
just needs to be the brains behind.
Paul Heyman don't interfere in matches. He may distract every once in a while, but he don't interfere.
No, to me, they're doing something right with Julia, but back to Jade, to me, it's very simple. She needs a heel turn very badly. I think that she needs to be a destroyer. She needs to work like, if you go back and watch those old WWE matches of the early 90s, they used to have enhancement matches, right? Where the local talent person gets beat up in 12 seconds. They need to do that with Jade. Like when Jade turns heel, what they need to do is every week have Jade squash somebody in 2 minutes.
I mean, that's essentially her TBS title reign in AEW.
Right. It was. But it worked to a degree.
It did.
It worked, right?
It did.
Yeah. So that's what I feel like. That's what I would do with Jade. So before we get to
creates the right juice for Bianca to beat her for the title too, by the way.
Yes, and that's where I was going with it, which is Jade heel should win the title and Jade should lose it to Bianca. So quickly, we have 2 women's matches tonight. We made our predictions last week. Do you want to change before we go over to AEW? Women's matches tonight, quickly. Becky, Lyra part 3. No DQs, no countouts. If Becky wins, Lyra cannot challenge for the Intercontinental title until Becky is not champion. If Lyra wins, Lyra wins. Who do you think's going to win, and what's your prediction?
I picked Lyra last week, I think, and I'm leaning towards Becky as we sit here, and I'll tell you why. The Lyra can't challenge while Becky's still champion is a really dumb stipulation unless Becky's going to win and they want to just be able to move on. 1. Number 2, Becky posted a video of her celebrating Seth cashing in last night, and it was really odd to me. I feel like it was odd. I told you it was odd. I told you in the group chat, I was like, it just comes across weird. And what you said is like, are they, is there a thing there? And if so, Becky's winning. So I'm changing that to Becky wins, and then I'm saying Naomi retains as well. I'm keeping with that.
Yeah, I think Becky wins. I think Bayley is costing Lyra. I think that's happening for sure.
Bayley should be on the SummerSlam card. I wore this in solidarity.
And she will be tonight. She will be when she
will be. All right, we'll see.
Becky's winning. I thought Becky posting a video saying, "I fooled you all, that my husband was actually not on, he was on fake crutches. I misled you." And I'm like, well, just join Paul Heyman's group. To me, at this point, Becky, you're part of the group. Just join. And you know what? Yeah. I would be happy with that. If Paul Heyman was managing Becky Lynch, I would be so thrilled, because now all of the women's matches that involve Becky get elevated because Paul Heyman is there. So to me,
there's this
yeah, I would love it.
There's a misconception that Paul is only with people who can't talk because of Brock Lesnar. Roman can talk.
So can Brock.
Roman. Seth doesn't shut up.
Yes.
Obviously, The Rock. Yeah, Brock. But I'm just saying, like, CM Punk. CM Punk is one of the greatest mic guys that, so Paul doesn't align with people who need him for the microphone only. He aligns with top talent. And I think Becky and Paul would be fresh.
And this is why it's a generational thing too with Paul Heyman, because, for folks older like us, I've watched Paul Heyman my whole life. I watched Paul Heyman when he was the corporate yuppie in AWA as a manager. And I watched him in WCW with the Dangerous Alliance, which,
Paul E. Dangerously.
Yeah, before ECW, Paul E. Dangerously in WCW had the Dangerous Alliance. These are the wrestlers he managed. Ravishing Rick Rude, one of the best talkers of all time. Stone Cold Steve Austin. We found out later he could absolutely talk. Arn Anderson. Is somebody gonna say Arn Anderson can't cut a promo? Like, to me, he managed some of the Larry Zbyszko. He managed all of the
Bobby
best
Eaton.
talkers, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not about he needs to be their mouthpiece. It's how they play off of each other, because
And the advocate. Yeah. He
the Four
advocates for that.
Horsemen was J.J. Dillon was their manager. Ric Flair couldn't talk. Tully Blanchard couldn't talk. Arn Anderson couldn't talk. Well, if I were to make a list of my all-time mic workers, and I might do it one day, Ole, Arn, Tully, Rick are going to be in my top 20. All four of them. All four of them are four of the best talkers ever.
Yeah.
But J.J. Dillon is one of the best talkers ever. But Bobby Heenan is the manager who managed people who weren't great promos a lot of times, right? He managed Hercules.
Yeah.
He managed, Paul Orndorff was a good promo, but like
Dino Bravo.
Heyman, Becky being part of Seth's group is perfect because it's his actual wife. Like, this is not like a story. They're a legitimate couple. She's playing into it as a heel. So prediction time, Becky wins. Bayley's going to cost Lyra. They're going to spin off a feud. Becky, I still think Becky's going to lose the Intercontinental title to Io Sky.
All right.
Because Io has never beaten Becky, and that's going to be a story. So that's my prediction. Let's go to the triple threat. This one pains me. I like all three women, but I think Naomi has to win. I think Naomi has to pin Rhea Ripley. And I think that Naomi should have a long title reign. Naomi is the best women's character in wrestling by far.
Yep.
She needs, other than Timeless Toni Storm, she needs to win strong. They cannot fool around here. Naomi needs to win this title. She will retain. I think that's the simple booking. Naomi retains and Becky retains. Now, the reason I'm skeptical is we've already seen one women's title change. Tiffany didn't lose the title. Everybody thought she was going to lose. So now, are they going to surprise us and flip one of these titles tonight?
If they do, it'll be Lyra. I think Lyra has a significantly higher chance of winning than Io or Rhea does.
So what if Io wins the title and it's Stephanie Io in Paris? That's the only way you will piss people off on Twitter if Naomi loses. But once you get to Io versus Stephanie, will anybody get mad?
Yeah, I think that people would be frustrated with the work Naomi's put in and her having like a 24-day title. Should they get the Sasha Banks reign?
I know. It would Triple H would not fight the rumors at that point.
That's what I'm saying, is like that never happens to any of the, it would be very bad.
Somebody told me, and I used it on my timeline, if Naomi loses, we're calling the NAACP at this point, because it's been one of those, like, Jade lost, Naomi's gonna win. I'm sticking with my Naomi's gonna win.
It makes me think of my first hit tweet, and it was about Vince McMahon, and this is when I had like 50 people. Like, I was on Twitter just talking my own shit, but and it was about Vince, but it applies to Triple H. I tweeted once, if tennis were booked like wrestling is, Maria Sharapova would have dominated Serena Williams if Vince McMahon had the pen.
Yes, I would agree with that.
That's a problem.
Sent the Charlotte Flair Sasha Banks tweet.
It was, I think it was, yeah. It was that, or it was Alexa. It was certainly
maybe Alexa. Maybe, yeah. Okay.
It was certainly, yeah.
Yeah, in what
So
also once.
it's a troubling occurrence that hopefully we're well past, and Naomi deserves a very, very well booked and long
Naomi, I
title run.
think Naomi's gonna win, retain. I think she's gonna retain strong, and I think honestly, Io and Rhea are smart enough to know that Naomi needs to win simply because that roster has only baby faces on Raw. Rhea, Io, Stephanie, Nikki Bella. Well, who's the heel? Well, the only heel is Naomi. So to
Yeah.
me, it has to be her. So okay, we'll go there. Now let's go over to AEW. So AEW this week, we now know at Forbidden Door in London what the women's title match is going to be. It is going to be timeless Toni Storm defending her title against Athena, who did win the Casino Gauntlet match, and she has now signed her contract to fight timeless Toni Storm at Forbidden Door.
Yep.
Um, there's people on the timeline that legitimately think Athena's going to win. I'm not one of them. I don't think Athena's going to win. I think Toni's going to retain. Do you think anything different?
No, I mean I get that we're brainwashed a little bit about how WWE books, uh, because it was the only game in town for such a long time. But it goes a lot further back than WWE. But Timeless Tony got pinned by Athena, and if you look at the way that Tony Khan books Timeless Tony, the only woman, oddly enough, that didn't get a pinfall win over her leading up to the feud was Mercedes. And I understand why he did that, because he was saving their physical altercation for the biggest stage. So I agree with that. But Megan Bain beat her on a Collision or a Dynamite and then lost at pay-per-view.
Mina.
Mina, and then lost at pay-per-view. And then going back to her old title reign, that stuff would happen before. The way they tell this story of Toni is she's more unbeatable on the bigger stages, but can be tripped up on these other stages. And yeah, I know it was a tag match, but it's very purposeful to have Athena hit her finisher on Toni and pin Toni. That is a visual to get you to tune in, but generally speaking, it's a type of booking that has the champion retaining.
But this event is Toni's bugaboo. She has never won in London, and that's part of this story. She's never won in London.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to tell that story that she could probably lose. I don't think she will lose. I think she will retain. And I think finally we get the Billy Starks Athena split in this match.
That would be good. At the end of the day, I'm excited to see Athena and Toni wrestle. I think it's going to be a very good match. I really love the character beats that they've played with Athena since she's been on AEW TV. I know you have reservations, but I think that she's running on all cylinders as a character right now, and she's very easy for the crowd to understand who she is, what her motivations are, what she believes. She's the de facto heel in this feud, but that shouldn't change that she thinks that she's good enough to just say, Toni, I'm going to beat you.
Yeah.
And she shouldn't cash in. She should cash in the way she is. So,
yeah, no, I think so. Wrestling's an interesting genre. Characters appeal to some people, and then they don't appeal to other people. Like there's very few universally loved characters, right? Everybody likes everybody. Yeah. How many people? There's like maybe, I don't know. It's a small list. I know you have never been the biggest Seth Rollins person. You've never been the biggest John Cena person, right? Like whether it's the Doctor or Hustle, Loyalty, Respect, John Cena, you've been like, they're what they are, but they don't speak to me. I don't connect with them. The big dog, Roman Reigns, connected with you, but didn't connect with anybody else. And then the OTC, the tribal chief, the head of the table, he's connected with everybody, and maybe you prefer in some cases the big dog, right? Maybe the wrestling, maybe in the ring,
I I
big
I
dog.
I miss the ring work. Shout out last night to that dive Roman did over the ropes. Someone said he hasn't done that since Biden was president. I would say he hasn't done that since before Biden was president. It was
Well,
before that.
he
I don't think he went the
almost
whole
turned it
admin.
into a move that I didn't even think he was capable of doing, because he flipped in the air and he almost gave Reed a neck breaker, but like
Yeah,
a
it was
blockbuster.
I liked the big dog because I loved the way he wrestled as that character. I fondly remember Finn Balor matches. I
Great
liked
match,
his Braun Strowman stuff.
great
I liked
stuff
the Samoa
from
Joe stuff. I
Lesnar.
liked the I liked the Brock stuff until it got way overplayed. Um, I love his match with Buddy Murphy. It's the SmackDown one. It's so
Very
good, and it's I ultimately care more about what you do when the bell rings than what you do before the bell rings, and so that's. And I know people will say Seth is great in the ring. Um, I don't dislike Seth. It just never was. He's just never been the guy for me. Whereas like Cena, like for long periods of time, like I just didn't see it like at all. So your point is well taken.
I'm the same way with Athena. That's where I was going with this.
Yeah.
Like I have never gotten it. I barely liked Amber. Like I never really cared for Amber Moon, the character, either way. I never cared for Athena. I know she was great on the indies and she was a super, super worker. But, and this is probably a backhanded compliment, but she's a mechanic to me. Like, she is a mechanic. Like, she's a person who's a great in ring performer, and she can wrestle and she can have great matches, and her match with Mercedes is great, and
It's
she's
exactly how I see Seth Rollins.
yeah,
It's exactly the
but
same.
yeah,
Because
but
Cena, I don't even see like again, I'm not trying to piss anyone off, but like Seth, I can watch him wrestle and be like, I know that's good, but it does nothing for me.
yeah, yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
fair. And I, but okay, so you but see, the thing is, the mechanic is a derogatory wrestling term. Like,
I
to
know it
me,
is.
Athena is I'm dating myself here. She's like the female young stallions. She's Jimmy Powers. She's Paul Roma pre-Power and Glory. Like, she's the person who gives you the really good TV match but loses. She's SD Special Delivery Jones. She's Mario Mancini.
All right, you're taking it too far.
Like, that's what
Those
I
are guys that get squashed.
okay. Let me not Mario Mancini. SD Special Delivery Jones. Like
Gosh, he was the shortest WrestleMania match ever for like 3 decades
9 seconds. Yeah, King Kong
against was it One Man Gang or who was it?
It's King Kong Bundy. It was nine
Oh
seconds.
yeah,
And the funniest thing is, as a kid, I am such a nerd. I used to have a Casio stopwatch, and I would rewind it and I would watch it, and it's like, wait, this is like 23 seconds. What kind of timekeeping is this 9 seconds thing? And that was, funny enough, that was one of the only times Bundy didn't go 5. Like, he
yeah.
just pinned him 1, 2, 3. But okay, so Athena, Toni Storm. Toni Storm is gonna win. I still think the story of Toni Storm is she's gonna lose to Mercedes. And now more than ever, I think she's gonna lose to Mercedes in Toronto in an event I might gonna probably attend in All Out. I think she's gonna lose the title to Mercedes at All Out.
Well, there are Athena fans listening. They're going to hate this episode doubly, okay? Because you just called her Special Delivery Jones.
I
We're
did.
booking her to lose, and get it. I think the match is going to be great. It's not going to main event though, right? And the women still haven't main evented, and more than Mercedes, more than Athena, Toni Storm deserves the first women's main event in AEW. And our best path to a women's main event in AEW is a well told story over the next 6 weeks where Mercedes comes back with some level of vengeance and Toni Mercedes 2 is the main event of All Out. That is absolutely in play?
Where's All Out? Toronto?
You just said that.
Yeah, I know. No, this is a
Yeah.
hypothetical question. So
Okay.
Toni Storm and Mercedes are main eventing over Edge and Christian in Toronto.
Yes.
I don't know how you could do that. I'm sorry. Like
Hey,
and
do
I
you have your phone?
prefer Mercedes and Toni, by the way, as a match. Like I'm going to be going to this card.
You have your phone?
And I would rather have Mercedes and Toni main event, me personally.
What year is it?
it's
What year is it?
It's 2025. I get that. But you
if Edge and Christian event over Toni Storm and Mercedes Monet 2, I will. I can't believe I'm saying this because I want that match so bad. I would boycott the event.
well, you know what?
Nobody cares.
You know what?
Edge and
Look,
Christian.
I will send you video from the audience because you don't have to spend your money. But Edge and Christian, who have not tag teamed for what? When's the last time Edge and Christian have been a team on TV?
Fighting or are they teaming?
Edge and Christian are supposed to fight FTR is the main event.
Brother, if FTR main event, I can't do it, dude.
Well,
I can't do it.
Okay.
You got the most consequential woman in AEW history. You have the most consequential woman maybe in North American wrestling history,
Yes.
in my opinion.
The MIP.
Rematching off of the greatest women's match in AEW history. And you're going to give me some slop like FTR? And it's not even Edge and Christian. It's Cope and Christian.
Right. It's okay. It's not Edge and Christian. It's Adam.
They can open the event.
You have okay, so now we're gonna have to get a little history lesson here. So when I lived in, obviously I'm born and raised in Toronto, 1996, 1997, college, I'm in high school, then I go to college a couple of years later. Edge and Christian and Rhino were a group on the independents in Toronto called Thug Life. Sexton Hardcastle was Edge's first wrestling name.
Yeah.
These two trained at Ron Hutchinson's school that also trained Trish Stratus, Sweet Daddy Siki. This is Toronto lore. These are two of our heroes from our city. I love Mercedes Monet. I like her more than I like Edge and Christian combined as wrestlers. She's not from my city. Toni Storm, she might be the best character in all of wrestling, male or female. She's not from the 416, the 905, the 647. She's not from our city. And these two have not teamed up in a long time. They're reuniting in their hometown in front of their friends and family. They're going to get the loudest pop in the whole company that night. And you're going to main event anybody else? No. Okay. I'm not Tony Khan. I don't own the company.
My shocked face.
I don't run the company. Would I main event Edge and Christian in 2025 against FTR? I would not. Because what you're telling me is you're main eventing nostalgia over the actual product, right? Because that's what that is. It's a nostalgia main event.
It's exactly what WCW would do in the year 2000.
Right. That's a nostalgic thing. To me, I would suffer the consequences of, hey, even if the crowd isn't as hot for Mercedes and Toni as they were Edge and Christian, I would go in that direction. I would not main event Edge and Christian. I'm just making a bold prediction here that I think one of the only reasons Toronto was chosen as the all-out venue is because Edge and Christian are going to be the main event.
Well, we will see. Was that our first Brian and Dave moment where one of us was like, I can't believe it?
Well, no, but here's the thing though. I agree with you. I'm just looking at it as the city that All Out is in And the fact that all the advertisements of All Out have a Canadian flag on it. And it's almost like they're subliminally pumping us up that the reason we're doing it this way is the main event is going to be our hometown heroes. Because remember, Edge and Christian have always said they want to tag team together one last time in Toronto.
I something you point out about Tony Khan all the time, and he main events shows with belts.
Yes.
So there's no belt on the line there. So, but I get it. Those guys have been they're Hall of Famers. They've they've done a lot even outside of WWE in the twilight of their career. They came up, through the ranks there. I get it. I actually think it's unfair to try to put them in that last spot there in a match that, I mean, ultimately you have the crowd. What screwed WCW over is not booking for the wider, story and
let me ask you this.
there's probably 6 things more important going on in AEW right now than that particular match. That's all I'm saying.
So I use the term mechanic for Athena. If you look up the term mechanic in the definition, FTR's picture will pop up.
This is true.
I can't think of, like, while FTR, they think they're the Rock and Roll Express or the Midnight Express. They are not the Midnight Express to me. But do you think Edge and Christian versus FTR as a wrestling match could be good enough to main event, like as a professional wrestling match, because you have 4 all-time really good workers? Edge and Christian, in their opinion, and they say this, are in better shape now than they ever were in WWE. Do you think that match could actually be a main event quality match?
An AEW main event quality match? No.
Okay.
No. I mean, who's Hangman wrestling that night? I mean, like, I think they should open, and I think they should set the crowd off like a stick of dynamite and let everyone live up to it. But I just, storyline wise, I don't see how you can make that important enough to main event. That would almost look like, to people, you're from Toronto, so you have a different perspective. To people outside Toronto, it would almost look like you were dodging the women main eventing on purpose. Because people, if let's say you're 23 years old and you're from New York or California or Australia, you would be like, what's main eventing?
No, I agree. It's a nostalgia main event. It's a nostalgia main event. Like, to me, if let's say they were having a show in Toronto, but there were no cameras, it was a house show, that should main event, right? Like a house
100%. 100%.
Like, that's how you would do it. I remember, Hulk Hogan main evented in Montreal with Jacques Rougeau, and it was non-televised event. It was 18,000 people at the Bell Center, and Jacques Rougeau pinned him, but it was never on TV. But he pinned him, right?
100%.
Like, hey, this is Jacques Rougeau helped the house. I want to put him over. He lost to him because there were no cameras, because he's not going to lose if there were cameras, but he lost to him.
Right.
I would agree here. Okay, so then here's my question. Tony does what I'm saying he's going to do. He puts Edge and Christian on last. Then do you just hold off on Tony Mercedes too until they can main event?
It has to main event. It has to main event.
So you're saying I only want to see part 2 when it's going to be the main event? Yes. Okay.
It was the best women's match in AEW history. Women have not main evented. I don't even want Mercedes to main event unless it's against Toni, because Toni deserves it. She didn't get it with Mariah because Mariah was leaving. So Toni is the AEW side of the card.
Yeah.
Mercedes is the main events anywhere side of the card. Mercedes main evented over the men's title, which we probably didn't give enough credit to. She main evented over the men's title on an NJPW show, which has never, ever, 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 ever happened.
All right.
So that is the main event. You have the AEW consequential woman in AEW history, and then a world-beating main eventer.
You know how you talked about on paper, 10 years down the road, we'll read about Tiffany and the opponents she beat and be like, oh my God, she had such an amazing title reign, right? But we lived
Yeah,
through it, so we know it isn't. When the New Japan news came out that Mercedes was going to main event over the men's title, everybody else was like, oh my God, this is historic, right? Because on paper, it is. To me, I might have been the only person, and I don't mean this as a slight. I thought it was like, what's the like to me, and I know my NJPW history. I was like, what's the big deal? She's the reason that they sold the tickets anyway. Why isn't she the
right.
event? Like to me, I'm not saying it's not a big deal. It is on paper, it's a big deal. But Mercedes is the reason they even had any business in America for New Japan, because with
We
her,
haven't talked about it, but their shows have been struggling since they took the
exactly.
belt off
So
of her. They got outsold by TJPW.
since she has not been the champion in America, they're not selling tickets the way they did when she was on the card. So to me, her being the main event of those American cards is like a no-brainer. Like, I never understood. I understand why it's a big deal on paper, but to me, it's like common sense. Like, that's the reason people bought tickets. She should main event. Now, speaking of Mercedes, she has not main evented in AEW, but she did main event in Poland, where she acquired 2 more titles. And what are these 2 titles, Billy? It's an Italian championship and a Polish championship.
The PWT Women's Championship. Is it PTW or PWT? The one title is the Bestia. It looks like Bestia, but I think it's like Bestia Women's Championship, which is the Italian title. And the other title is the PTW title, which is the representation for Poland. I was given free promo to Pro Wrestling Tees the way I was saying it the first time. It's PTW. So now 8 belts. I don't know how much these things weigh, but they're bigger than all of her other titles. So it's really, really funny. Fun little match with Diana Strong, who I thought showed, that she should be on radar. Really, really good looking work, good facial expressions, kind of selling the match. We had a very unnecessary men's segment. Certainly the Italian promoter was like, well, if I'm putting the belt on Mercedes Monet, I'm going to have, my men's talent get the spotlight with her, which I loved watching Twitter and how appalled everyone was, is like, get these men off my TV. What is going on? But fun little match that they did. Really good emotional hug after. If you don't know, Diana Strong has come out and said that Mercedes is her hero, and has since the match said that it was the best day and moment of her life. But she cried in the ring after. So I don't know. It's just what you think about the 8 belts. It's really the most unique thing happening in wrestling right now, right? She's wrestling in the oddest places against talent that we didn't even know existed, truthfully, in the United States wrestling scene, 2, 3, 4 months ago. And already has commitments to go back. She's going to wrestle and defend the Bestia women's title in Rome on November 9th. So, my wife has always wanted to go to Italy. It's not going to be in November, but it crossed my mind. But we've just got a lot going on, so it's not going to be this November. I don't think I could get away with going to a wrestling show if we finally went to. So
It would be like you're in Rome and, oh my, is there a wrestling card? We should just go just to be part of it. And then she shows up and, your wife's like, I got this guy got set up here. But
I could maybe get away with getting her to a London show because we've been to London and it would be an excuse to go to London, but
But
I'm not getting away with taking her to a place for the first time to go see Mercedes wrestle. That's not
so
happening.
she's sticking to her mission statement. Her mission statement when she left WWE is I want to bring a spotlight to women all over the world. And
Yep.
what she's doing is she is the catalyst for this as she is going to these territories. And again, because of technology and because of social media and because of the internet, she can do it. Because if this was a PWI, if she was wrestling in the 80s, all of this would be lore in magazines, right? But we wouldn't have
We would read about it after and be like, oh, really?
yeah. So it's working and it's good, and I think it's great. And whether it's like I said, most important women's wrestler ever, her. And I've also said that she's helping these women in a way to get a spotlight on them that they otherwise couldn't, because I don't know, is Tony Khan or William Regal. William Regal might be because he's like a wrestling junkie, but do they know about these folks in these parts of the country, right? In these parts of the world, sorry. So I have a nitpick though, and it's not with Mercedes. It's not with Mercedes, but I have a nitpick with Tony Khan, and I'll tell you why. And it has something to do with Poland. So let me get this straight. The last time I saw Mercedes Monet on my AEW TV is she lost the big match again against somebody who everybody thought she was supposed to beat, and she lost to Toni Storm. She disappears, goes and gets 2 belts wherever, and now you're almost telling me what? Like, yeah, she got 2 more belts, but like the last time I saw her on your TV, she was a loser. And so to me, it's like, well, it's almost like she ran away from AEW because she couldn't handle the competition.
I think that's the story, though. I think so. Mercedes will be back on Wednesday on AEW TV. She's going to have her 2 extra belts. I don't know that she'll promo against Toni. I think she'll have whoever she's fighting at Forbidden Door come out and challenge her. But I do think that at some point it'll come around, and either in a promo on her own or face to face, maybe they see each other in the back. Tony's going to say, oh, your coping mechanism is you just go out and go get more belts to try to prove you're the best, when I already proved I'm the best because you can't get this belt. It's actually a very good setup to their next match.
If that's
they
the
do it
story
right,
they tell, then yes, that's correct. Then I'd be fine with it. Because to me, that is what it is, right? Like Tony's like, you can have all the belts you can have all the belts in the world, but you can't beat me and you can't have mine. And
in fact,
that's the story.
Mercedes is saying she wants 10 belts. If they could get her Forbidden Door match and she wins another belt at Forbidden Door, and that would be 9, the story could be complete. The story you were trying to tell at the first All-In match, and Tony's belt is the 10th belt. That would be the story you wanted told at All In.
I did. I wanted, like I said, I know everybody's so worried about how is Mercedes really going to lose in Poland? Is she really going to lose in England? Is she really going to lose in, where else does she have belts? I can't keep up anymore. Where else does she
Italy,
have?
Poland,
Italy,
England,
England,
CMLL,
Austria, CMLL,
Mexico.
Okay. People understand, right? Promoters put belts on people with the agreement that the wrestler's going to lose the belt at some time, right? The only look, and everybody knows I'm her biggest fan, but I don't think Mercedes is going to pull a Stephanie Vacour here. And hey, thank you guys. I'm not putting any. I'm leaving.
Oh, she's losing these belts.
She's going to lose these belts, and her fall from grace is going to be part of her story, and that's fine. But like I said, I want to see her with all the belts, win the AEW title. And then I think it should set up her downfall. Like I think her downfall should be the start should be right away. As soon as she gets the belt, it's almost like she's too distracted. She loses here, she loses there, she loses here, and then she just loses everything. And that's kind of her story. And like I said, she's doing some amazing stuff by bringing attention to women who are very talented, who have a lot of potential. Kanji, Diana, um, Fire,
Sapphire Reed, yeah.
Sapphire Reed. And I think that those three women, in my opinion, are three women that Tony Khan should absolutely, either if he's not already trying to sign them, he should be really working the paperwork to figure out how to sign them, because I'm not saying that those three women couldn't make it in WWE. Maybe they could. I think WWE has a different path now on how they're going to recruit women's wrestlers. To me, they have two in minor league systems, the WWE. They have the NIL and they have AEW. This is what they're doing. They're going to let the Mariah Mays go to AEW, flush out a character, get exposure, and then they're going to scoop them up. I don't think they're going to anymore just go straight to the independents. So that's how I would do it. So, we've kind of come to an end here. We will have part 2 of our episode, and that's going to be a complete SummerSlam recap with our good friend Shen, who's been on before. She is going to give us the full recap from being in the stadium for both nights, meeting Charlotte Flair, meeting Bayley, what that experience was like for her. And they signed her very, beautiful 4 horsewomen jacket that she, loves to show off. And, it's going to be good for us to get perspective on who was over, what the merchandise was in the crowd, the noise, etc. And we will be recording that episode after SummerSlam tonight. So look forward to that. But again, before we wrap, I want to say a couple things. Number one, because our audience has continued to grow, when you listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Samsung, Amazon, RSS, you now hear advertisements. Those advertisements allow us to collect some residuals from these advertisers. And we have had all kinds of advertisers, from Lexus to Granger to Indeed to I'm trying to think. Those are the main 3. Oh, and through a law firm in San Antonio. What I would tell you all is, I know sometimes advertisements get in the way, and even at times people get frustrated by them, but understand that helps us keep the lights on and pay the bills. Number 2, go and vote for my friend here, Billy, and his lovely wife, Glacia. They're in America's best. Is it called America's top couple or best couple?
America's favorite couple.
Favorite couple.
My wife put us in this competition for fun, and there's like group rounds and stuff, and we're in a group with 89 other couples, and as of this week we've made the top 5 there, and if we win that top 5, we're in the main competition. It's been fun and a little bit surprising, but friends and family have been very supportive of us, including my co-host here. And I'll tell you guys what, if we make this round, this next round where we're against all these other couples, there's like radio hosts and stuff in there. I'm gonna need some people's help, and we'll be posting the link and all that. But we are currently in first place, so
go vote for them, because honestly, and I'm not just saying this, here's the thing. Love stories, it's not just a Taylor Swift song, right? And I'm always somebody, and as somebody again who has been through a divorce, I always am a sucker for like a great, hey, we met in high school and we're still together story. Because like coming, like I have 2 cousins in Chicago, and a shout out to my cousin Shuba and her husband Bobby, and they were high school sweethearts, but they separated, and then they got back together because they realized that they should have never separated. and they have now been together. They have two lovely daughters, who are my nieces. And so like when I read your story, you and Glasia's story, even if I didn't know both of you, your story is a great story. And like wrestling, we want the story, not just the match in the ring. And like I have sent your link to a lot of people here. I mean, I've shown you the screenshots of,
Yeah.
whether it's my girlfriend, whether it's her friends, like a lot of people in my life have voted for you guys. I didn't even know she had a Facebook until she voted for you guys. And what I was saying is that the story is a beautiful story, and it's regular people. We lost Malcolm Jamal Warner recently from the Cosby Show. He was Theo Huxtable, and I think the best episode ever in the history of that franchise, which is one of the most popular shows of all time, is the first episode where Theo says, "I just want to be regular people," and he does the whole Monopoly game with it, where he's like, regular people. You always hear about celebrity love stories, and they're a little bit, to me, contrived, and they're a little bit, I don't want to say fake, but they're pumped up on purpose because they're famous. You guys aren't famous, but you have a great story that if you were to read it as a movie script, people would believe it and be like, is this real, or is this like just a script? But
it's a little too much, right?
You
Yeah.
guys legitimately, I know of one other couple that is like you two, who met through social media and have stayed together, and it's like it was meant to be. And you guys met through social media when it wasn't called social media, right? Like it was AIM.
AOL Instant Messenger.
Yeah.
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 Back in
Instant
yeah.
Messenger. And again, I don't even remember how you meet people, like how you get added to things and how you met people. Like I can't remember. It's been that long, but like the fact that you guys met cross country, you moved to work so you could be closer to her. You guys have now, been in these different cities, and even both families didn't approve of it at the start, and then they ended up coming together. It's like how a Romeo and Juliet should have been if it had the happy ending, right? Because Romeo and Juliet, Verona, Italy, and I know my Shakespeare very well, it should have had the happy ending, but it didn't. This is Romeo and Juliet having a happy ending. So for everybody out there, and we went a little long on this, but go vote for Billy, go vote for Glacia, because regular people couple stories to me are much more interesting and fascinating, and I appreciate them more than folks who are famous, because to me, folks who are famous, that they have an advantage because you just think this is the story. But you and your wife, this is a legitimate thing, and if you read their story, it's a great story. I highly recommend everybody to go vote. I think you can vote on Facebook. If you want to donate money, then you can donate, and you don't have to have a Facebook account, and each dollar you contribute gets them a vote. So this is for a really good cause, and I would just tell everybody to go vote.
Well, hey, my friend, I appreciate that. Definitely means a lot to me.
Yeah.
Means a lot to her. And yeah, if you want to vote and support us for free, you just have to have a Facebook, and it just confirms that you're a real human. And there's the donation route as well, which is not required. But we're about to ramp this up pretty good if we make this next round. And again, I appreciate you calling it out, and anyone here who's interested in it. But no matter what, I'm lucky because my wife is amazing. So it works out all good in the end for me.
Yes, she's Galatia is wonderful. You definitely, I mean this respectfully.
I'll kick my coverage big time.
Yeah, I know. I don't. Because I don't think she would look at it that way. I think she would look at it as, yeah, I got the guy in my life that I was meant to have. But you guys are a great couple. You guys complement each other so well. And I think that in a time where marriage is not seen as the sacred entity it was when I was growing up or when you were growing up, society is different. But I think it's always cool when I hear about these stories of people who have been together, have been through the ups, have been through the downs, and have stuck it out. Because the easiest thing to do when things get rough is run, right? Everybody can run. But to stay together in the foxhole together, that's the part of the story that I love. And again, go vote for them. The link will be on our YouTube page, and I will try my best to embed the link in our streaming so you guys can go vote for them if you pick us up on stream. So on that note, look for part 2.
And I'll tweet it out too.
Yeah. Look for part 2 coming later this week with our friend Chen, who is at SummerSlam. She was there last night. She'll be there tonight. She's meeting Charlotte. She's meeting Bailey. I'm sure she'll have great stories about that. So on that note, we will talk to you guys very soon.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you.
Bye.